So let's talk about Dr. Spiegel from the Johnny trial today. So there's been many videos about Dr. Spiegel who got his 15 minutes of fame. There's been many videos trying to understand him, trying to understand his reactions in the courtroom. So I'm here to give you my perspective because I have 25 years of experience working as a psychiatric nurse. Hi, my name is Angelica. I have 30 years of experience working as a psychotherapist now. I no longer work as a psych nurse. And I'm here to just give you my perspective. Let's break it down. So Dr. Spiegel on the stand, what was his reaction now? As we saw him being questioned, he seemed to get more and more irritated and more agitated. Check this out.
And therefore, what I'm saying is neither IPV, nor substance usage, nor narcissistic personality traits a psychiatric diagnosis. And then under the rubric of expert witness testimony, you are saying I acted unethically on the rubric of expert witness testimony. So if you, sir, would like to proceed that expert witnesses are unethical, based on that, I am not going to sit here and disagree with you and waste everyone's time. I think it's fairly obvious. So thank you. Go ahead. These were your words. I'm just saying them back how they're interpreted.
Okay. Let's start with the easy question then. Maybe we can.
That was pretty easy. Go ahead.
All right, Doctor, you're going to have to just answer the questions.
Okay. Sorry about that. Getting into it.
You need to just answer the questions,
Okay.
Dr. Spiegel.
So as you see, he got agitated to the point of just being like completely flabbergasted. Tell me, is this not the definition of being flabbergasted?
But Willy Wonka doesn't matter to you? You see him in that movie, Charlie and Chocolate Factory? Did you look at that one when you were comparing his processing speed?
Do I have to answer that question, Your Honor?
You have to answer questions. Yes, sir.
No, you'll be happy to know I didn't see Willy Wonka I didn't see 21 Jump Street when it happened or whatever it was about. No, I did not.
All right.
So how do we understand this? So from my perspective now, I'll tell you the process of what it's like working in psychiatry. Now, once a week, or it could be twice a week, there are rounds on the unit. And rounds happen when you get all the staff together, all the doctors, all the psychiatrists, all the nurses and social workers and occupational therapists. Everybody gets together, plus the interns, the residences, the doctors in training from the local university. We would all get together. And I've worked in many hospitals in Canada and the United States, and it's the same process. So in the rounds, we would just talk about the patients, what's going on with them, the progress of their treatment, and then the doctor would give his opinion. So once the doctor gives his opinion, he would not be questioned. This was my experience. Once the doctor gave his opinion, gave his diagnosis, gave his medication prescription, he would not be questioned. And Dr. Spiegel was being questioned on the stand a lot. It was just one question after the next. And he just became more and more frustrated. As we can see, he just seemed like irritated by being questioned. And I think this is why, is because he's not used to it. He's used to just saying what he has to say, and that's it. He's not questioned. And because we could see as he was speaking with the jurors, he seemed to be educating them. He was very comfortable just speaking with the jurors, explaining which is the role that he's used to. He's used to speaking and explaining and just giving his input, what he believes to be true, and that's it, and it's not questioned. So I think this is why he had those reactions. And I'll tell you what happened when I did question the doctors. And this is why I'm no longer a psychiatric nurse. And I never really fit into that role because I'm more of a psychotherapist. I'm a psychotherapist at the core because I question what's behind this anxiety, what's behind this depression. You know, why is this person sick? Why is this person in the hospital? The root cause. I was always wondering, well, what is the root cause of it? And I researched it. I was fresh out of university when I was 25 years old and gung ho, and yeah, I've always been gung ho, but but I researched it. I did my own research into borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality, dissociative disorder, all of that, and I ended up educating the doctors, if you can imagine how much they listened to me. They didn't. It was a huge backlash, who are you? They were looked at me like they're wondering, who are you? You're a kid, like what? You're a nurse, like who do you think you are? This is the impression that I got. Just because whatever I had to say, it was just dismissed. It was completely dismissed. I didn't want to hear it. And this is the truth. And because psychiatrists, doctors in general, they look at the symptoms. They look at the symptoms and they medicate. Simple. They look at your symptoms and they medicate. Simple as that. They don't go digging in the past. They really don't care because they've been trained that way. This is their training in university, is to look at the symptoms and to medicate. Now, there are a few, I don't know, I might have known two. I can only think of one right now, one doctor that actually did psychotherapy, that really did go into the background. Now, there are some, no, now I'm thinking of two. Okay, there are some, but the ones, not many that I've worked with. Now, I have books back here from psychiatrists that have done the research, that have looked at, the etiology of behavior, what's behind the PTSD, what's behind the sexual abuse and all of that. So 30 years ago, I presented at psychiatric grand rounds on the topic of dissociation, dissociative identity disorder, and the topic of incest, along with another psychiatrist. And at the same time, the author of this book, Bessel van der Kolk, was also presenting at that same grand rounds for psychiatrists. And he wrote this book, The Body Keeps the Score, which is a groundbreaking book about PTSD. So subscribe if you would like to hear me speak more about the topic of PTSD and dissociation, because I will be creating more videos on that. But in general, and I've worked in many hospitals in the US and Canada, in general, they look at the symptom and they medicate, period. So what happened when I questioned diagnoses? When I questioned the diagnoses of schizophrenia a couple of times, all hell broke loose with those particular doctors. They tried to have me fired. One tried to have me fired. Well, two. It happened twice. And both times I ended up leaving. First time, it was dismissed. I wasn't fired. It was just dismissed. But I was, I was just disgusted because frankly, I have seen a lot of misdiagnoses, in my opinion, from what I've seen, because I've done a lot of research into PTSD, dissociative disorders. So the problem is there's a lot of overlap in the symptoms. So a schizophrenic will have the same symptoms as someone with a dissociative disorder. Dissociative disorder used to be called multiple personality disorder, which the psychiatrists I worked with didn't even believe in that. But there's an overlap in the symptoms. They have the same symptoms of, they might have hallucinations, they may hear voices, see images, but it's from two different things. From a true schizophrenic, it could, comes from a disorder, a brain disorder. With someone with a dissociative identity disorder, that comes from severe abuse, severe physical, sexual, emotional abuse at a very young age, baby, toddler, and this is where the different parts are formed. So you don't treat that with antipsychotics, but they did. So the thing is, they didn't discriminate. They see the symptoms, so they treat everybody the same. So these people with sexual abuse history, dissociative disorder, were treated as schizophrenics. And there's a huge repercussions in that when they're given, antipsychotics, long-acting injections that can completely ruin somebody's life. I'm being honest. I understand what I'm saying is controversial. Yes, I'm being a whistleblower here, and this will affect many people. And I've seen this over and over again in all of the hospitals that I've worked in. So once again, it happened years later. I did return back into psychiatry, and once again, I questioned the diagnosis and giving an adolescent medication, long-acting antipsychotic injection, because she was diagnosed as schizophrenic, 16 years old. And in my opinion, she was not schizophrenic. I saw the symptoms of dissociative disorder because she was somebody that had been severely abused. And so I questioned it. Lo and behold, and there's, big meeting, and, they wanted to then educate me in order to keep my job, educate me on how to listen to a doctor. They wanted me to be supervised for a month. How did that go over with me? It didn't go over well. I mean, that was just an insult. I mean, I was a psychotherapist this whole time also. So I just chose to leave. I just chose to leave, and I had to make the decision, what do I do with this information? At that time, I was working with children, little children and adolescents. And I chose to leave, and I wondered, do I go to the news media about this? What do I do? And I chose to, trust that justice would be done eventually. And now there is a much better understanding of PTSD within the psychiatric system. They have evolved a great deal, but they are still medicating the symptom. And there's still a lot of misdiagnosis happening. And I hope someday that will change. I hope, and I think it has to happen at the level of the education. Educating the doctors, educating the psychiatrists to look beyond the symptom, to look at, why is this person having these symptoms? Because as a doctor, it's just, you're capable of much more than just medicating a symptom. You all have above average intelligence. I don't mean to insult your intelligence here, not at all. I have great respect for your intelligence. But just being educated to medicate a symptom is really dumbing you down, because you're capable of much more. You're capable of doing what I do as a psychotherapist. Look at the underlying cause and realize that symptoms overlap when it comes to abuse victims. So it's very, very important. It's critical. It's crucial that you look at that before ruining somebody's life with antipsychotic medications, and which then they end up going through the revolving door of psychiatry. So folks, that's what happens when you question a psychiatrist. They get very upset, like Dr. Spiegel did in the courtroom. He got very upset, very irate. And what happened to me is they tried to oppress me, and they did oppress me for a very long time. But I'm happy to say that I'm here now and I'm speaking, and I wish it wouldn't have taken me so long, but I'm here to speak, and speak I will. So I'll be putting out more videos on the topic of mental illness, different mental health disorders. And so if you would like to hear more about that, you can subscribe, like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you are in need of psychotherapy, you can become a member of the Rise Tribe by joining the Buy Me a Coffee link down below for the price of 2 cups of coffee. And I provide weekly exclusive content of various forms of psychotherapy techniques to help you heal and move beyond dysfunctional patterns. So hit that like button and subscribe. Till next time.